Welcome to Learn It, a series of digital scrapbooking tutorials by Studio Wendy at Scrapbook Graphics. Today we're going to look at the Preview Maker set of actions and scripts. This is something that I've gotten a lot of requests for a video, so here we are. I have opened up my download folder here. This is the Photoshop CS version, and in here you'll see that we have a bunch of different files. We have our PDF tutorial, which walks you through step by step all of the things that I'm going to demonstrate. We have a set of actions which need to get loaded into Photoshop. Now, if you have Photoshop CS, you can just double click that file. It will load right into your most recent version of Photoshop. You can also drag it right onto your Photoshop icon, application icon. And if you have Photoshop Elements, you'll need to copy your action file, your metadata file, and your PNG thumbnail into the correct folder for your version of Photoshop Elements. And you should have a tutorial, a PDF tutorial that explains that as well. You'll see here we have several different template versions here, and there's some different styles to choose from that hopefully mimic one of the styles of previews that you might be using yourself. We have the script files, and if you open that up here, you'll see we have the script itself and the supporting files here. And these need to get copied into a specific folder on your hard drive. This was one of the very first scripts that I offered for sale, and so this one is done just a little bit differently than most of them. If you want, you can copy these directly into your scripts folder, and to find that, that would be under your Macintosh hard drive, Applications, Adobe Photoshop. I'm running CS5 right now, so let's go in there. Presets, Scripts. That's the typical place where you would install a script in Photoshop CS. If you want to use the way that most of my newer scripts work, that's going to be in a little bit of a different place. And the reason for that is that we discovered in creating these scripts that if we put them into the main default user, not your user, but the default user or the main library folder for a Mac, the default user for Windows, that we could actually record the actions for you so you didn't have to do them yourself. So I've just gotten in the habit of putting all of my scripts into that folder now. And that would be under, in this case for the Mac, it's the Macintosh hard drive library folder and application support. And this location's a little bit different if you're on Windows. I think it's called application data or app data under your default user. So you would go in there and then you'd create a new folder called Wendyzine Scraps, just like this, with the capital W, capital S, and no space in between. If you have any of Anna Forrest's scripts, this is also where hers go, and you'll see her folder is called Anna Forrest Designs. So open up that Wendyzine Scraps folder that you just created, and this is where you're going to copy all of these script files. In this case, we're just copying both of those files right into that folder. If, when you open the script files folder, there was another folder that encompassed all those, you would just copy that whole folder in here. So for example, I have one here called Kit Stacker Scripts. The scripts that it holds are within that, and I just copied that whole folder in there. In this case, I'm just copying those two pieces here, and then that is all set to go. I've assumed that you've installed your actions, so let's go over to Photoshop and we're going to take a look at what actions were included with this set. Okay, so here in Photoshop, I've got up my Actions panel. That's under Window, Actions, if you don't have it showing. Sometimes it's also on this sidebar here, and it looks like a little play button. And in this set, we have a bunch of different options. This first set of options is called the Template Creator. All these do is create a copy of these preview templates here. So if you want, you can skip those actions and actually load up one of the PSDs that was provided to you, or you can run through the action to create that template for you. And I'll just press play and show you one of them here. and it'll give you the opportunity to save that file. So just type in a name and save it here. Then we get a message we can edit this template if we want to, and the particular things that are important to keep in mind. So again, you can just open one of the PSD files and start from that, or if you don't know where you put your PSD files later down the line, you can just create a template using these template actions. Now, the reason you want to do that first is that these templates have layer names that are very important and very specific, and they need to remain exactly the same in order for the script to work properly. So what I usually suggest to people is to go ahead and start with one of the templates that most closely resembles your particular template preview. So I'm going to close out of this real quick, and I'm going to open my personal template preview here. Okay, so here it is. I'm just going to go ahead and swap a few things out for when I create elements, and delete my hidden layers. Okay, so this is basically my template preview here with all of my little bits and pieces in place and my logo on it, just like I like to have it. The next thing I'm going to do is select the template that most closely resembles that. And in this case, for me, it's going to be this one, template B. I'm going to open that up. And you'll see in this case, it's got a bar on the bottom with a kit name and a big open area for the rest of the information. The first thing I'm going to do is resize my template to the template size that I like to use. I start with a preview size of 600 pixels. Some people need to start with larger sizes, and that's perfectly fine. Just go ahead and make your initial template whatever size you want your largest preview to be. So for me, that's 600 pixels, so I'm going to size this template down to 600 pixels. Then the next thing I'm going to do is go back to my template, and I'm going to select all of my template layers and drag them directly into the Preview Maker template. I'm going to go ahead and close out of my original template here. Now that I've brought all of my layers in here and they've popped right in place, I can take a look at the various layers of the Preview Maker template and get them to match up. So here is my kit name. I can see here that that layer is named kit name. So here's my kit name, and what I need to do is just copy this, rename my layer to be kit name, and now I can delete that text layer. And now you'll see mine is ready to go right here in the right spot. So I can turn back on this layer and this layer. I can turn back on my logo bar. Everything's looking good. Put my overlay back on. This is my description text that can stay there. This is my background paper. I'm going to turn that on and send it to the back. That's named paper here in the other template, so I'm going to rename it paper. Next up, I have a layer called the paper area. And let's take a look at that. That is this box right here. This box is where the papers are going to be restricted to. So if I hit Command T to resize that, I can resize that layer to fit my template. I'm going to hang on just a second here. I'm going to turn off this logo overlay area and the element group area, paper group area. We'll come back and turn these on in a second. Okay, so here's my paper area. I'm going to hit Command T, and I can resize this. If I don't hold in the Shift key, I can resize it to any proportion that I want it to be. And this is simply represents the area where my papers are going to live once the script pulls them in. So I want it to basically fit right here in this opening, and so I've sized it to that and hit Enter. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the elements area. In this case, perhaps I would like my elements to really only fall in the center portion of the available area here. And if that's the case, I can easily just resize that area to fit that and press Enter. Now I'm going to turn back on the paper group area and back on the element group area. For the element group area, For now, I'm just going to leave these right like it is, and we're going to go ahead and run the script. And once we run it and we see how everything lays out, we can always go back and change the masking on this element group layer. So for now, I'm going to save this as my new base template. So I'm going to call this 600. I like to save my layered files as TIFFs, and press OK. Press OK. So now this is the template that I want to use whenever I am running this particular script. It's all ready to go. The next thing I want to do, I'm going to make a copy of it by going to Image Duplicate. I just like to work off a copy the first time around and make sure I know what I'm doing here. So with this copy open, I'm going to proceed to the Custom Preview Saver. This particular action is not recorded yet. This is for you to record the sizes for the preview that you want to use for your store. And it tells you right here in this message that you're going to press cancel here, then you're going to come down and press record. You're going to select the preview size that you want from the list and press play. And then if you want another preview size, select the next one and press play until all the sizes you need are recorded, and then press stop. What we're essentially doing is creating a script that's going to go through and have a custom set of sizes for your workflow. For my workflow, I use a 600 pixel copy and a 200 pixel copy. And since my original is already 600 pixels, I don't need to record that size. All I need now is my 200 pixel size. So I'm in here in the Custom Preview Saver, going to click on the stop button, and I'm going to hit record. Now I'm going to click on the 200 pixel version and press play. When this comes up here, this is the high pass filter, and this is your amount of sharpening. And you want to drag this to where you're only seeing the very edges outlined in white, and then press OK. This is the save location for your file here. I'm just going to press save. And it is going to go through and save a JPEG of that in the 200 pixel size. Now I can press stop. So here now my custom preview saver is set up to run a 200 pixel size. It's returned me to my original layered file here. So if I want to, I can press record and say I forgot, you know what, I also needed a 300 pixel size. So I can select that, press play. Okay, so now I've chosen a 200 pixel action and a 300 pixel action, and I actually want to reverse those. So the 300 comes first and the 200 comes second. So now I have a custom saver here that when I'm done creating my preview, I can run this and get all the sizes I need out of one action. So now that is perfectly set up. So I'm going to close out of this duplicate file, back to my original, and the next thing I'm going to do is record the preview maker action. And in this case, you can press record, and you want to go find the location where you installed the preview maker. So if you go to File, Scripts, if you copied it directly into the preset scripts folder, it's going to show up here in your list of scripts that you have loaded. If you didn't, and you installed it in the Wendyzine Scraps folder, what you want to do is go to the scripts and come down to Browse. From here, you're going to select the location where you put it, which in this case is going to be the Macintosh hard drive, Library, Application Support, Wendyzine Scraps, and then here it is, the Preview Maker. I'm going to click that and click Open. If you run into any kind of error message when you run the script, the first thing I suggest is trying to just quit out of everything and restart Photoshop. And if you continue to get errors, then give me an email and let me know what kind of error you're getting, and we can work through that. So once you've selected that script, up will come here your Preview Maker dialog window. Here we have a bunch of options, and let's go through them. The first is the kit name. So I'm going to put that in Studio Mix number 32, Storytelling. Designer name is going to be SPG on this one for Scrapbook Graphics. Now here my template is going to be the one I just saved. And for my output, I'm going to go ahead and choose another folder. Let's call this Completed Previews. On the next line here, we get to choose whether we want to do just papers, just elements, or a combined template, and we can choose to do all three of them as well. So if we want a preview for just papers plus a preview of just elements plus a preview of both combined together, we would check all three of these. For these purposes, I'm just going to choose the combined one. We get to our paper settings here, and this is where we're going to select the folder our papers are in. I'm going to go in my papers folder and click open. And we have two options here. We can choose how many rows that we want our papers to flow across in. In this case, I have only 8 papers, so I'm actually going to choose just one row. If I chose 2 rows, they would split half on the top and half on the bottom, and on with the different rows there. The stacking order is going to be whether we want the rightmost paper on the bottom or the leftmost paper on the bottom. And that has to do with how you prefer your shadow settings. So I'm going to leave it to right on the bottom. Rotate means, do you want the papers to line straight up across, or do you want them to randomly rotate a little bit spread out as they go? And then the scale of the paper is how much of that paper do we want it reduced. And this is going to depend a lot on what size your initial preview is. In my case, since my initial preview is 600 pixels, I probably am going to want my papers resized quite a bit down. So I'm going to go ahead and put in 25% and let's see what that does. For shadowing, we can choose none or default. I'm going to choose default, and that means that I get to choose from these 4 sets of built-in templates, and I'm going to go with the bottom right. Now we have our element settings. They're very similar, so we're going to select our folder of elements, press open. Here we can choose to resize all the elements to the same pixels width or all the elements by the same percent. And I'm going to use constant scale for the percentage. I'm going to set this to 25% as well, and we're going to see what we get out of it. The first few times you run this, you may want to play with these numbers quite a bit until you get comfortable with what works for your workflow, your preview size, your size of elements, and that kind of stuff. And for this one, I'll just choose the opposite, the photo small option here, just to see what different effect we get. Then when that's all set up, let's just press OK. Now, if everything's working correctly, what's going to happen is the action and scripts are going to go through, and where it said kit name, it's going to place the kit name that we entered. It's going to take all the papers, open them up, resize them, place them onto the canvas, and spread them out only in the area that was marked paper area. Then it will go through and select all of the elements, space them out into the area that said Elements Preview. And when it's all done, we should end up with a layered file that we can then edit and move stuff around. And it's important to realize that this is just a tool for getting everything onto your preview quickly and easily. It's not going to be perfect. It's just using some random algorithms. And once it pulls all the elements in, you're really going to want to move things around for your design aesthetic to make it seem like it has your stamp on it, your eye on it, and not just this random algorithm. So it can't do everything for you, but it really does speed up the process of getting everything onto your preview canvas. Okay, so here we are. It is done. We have our elements all on top. We've got all of our papers that have been clipped to that paper area here. And then we've got the rest of our layers as well. Now I'm going to take all of these paper layers and I need to bump them down below my template here. And in this case, because of where that last paper falls, I'm actually going to bump them over a little bit You see that last paper and how it's rotated just a little bit funny? I'm going to unlock that and move it over. There we go. So it covers up that background paper that was kind of funny looking there. And lock it back down. And then I can also bump them up a little bit if I need to. Okay, so those papers look nice placed out there. I'm going to turn off this text layer here so I can better see what's going on, as well as these grouping layers here. Now I've got my element layers here, and they have been just sort of collected onto the page here. And because I have chosen to leave them quite large on the preview is why they're sort of bundled up a bit. If I had chosen to resize them a little bit smaller, then they would be spread out kind of a little bit better. So this is where you're going to go through your preview and really decide where you want your items to fall. And you might need to move your layers around back and forth. So one quick tip to do that, Command bracket or Control bracket will move your layers up and down using the keyboard. So that is the basics. That is how you can use this script and action set to pull everything into your preview really quickly and simply, and how you're going to record your custom preview saver and how you're going to record your preview maker to call that up. And real quick, if you've installed this into the scripts menu, File, Scripts, into this menu, you don't even need to record that action. You can go over to File Scripts and just run it each time. I prefer to have them set up over here as an action because I can assign these to a function key. So I can go here and click Action Options and choose a function key here and assign that action to the F7 key. And now anytime I want to run it, I just have to press F7. I don't even have to go find it on my actions panel to figure out where it's at. So that's why I like to call my scripts with an action here. So I hope this has been helpful. I know it's been a long time coming. A lot of people have asked for it. Hopefully this will make getting your preview maker set up a little bit easier. Thanks for watching this episode of Learn It.